Tell them to mute. All right, hi guys, welcome, good morning. Thanks for coming to chat with us today. And welcome to our virtual audience as well. Please type in if you're not able to hear us or if anything is a little unclear. My name is Jennifer Barba. I'm a part of the admissions team at Sloan. So my role within the admissions office is to manage the evaluation process for 5 different full-time master's programs, with the business analytics program being one of them. In addition to that, I also oversee the recruiting team, which is a team of people who work very hard to recruit qualified candidates to apply to our programs, and then also who support those candidates in getting them the information they need to accept our offer. So in this cycle right now, given that it's April, we're sort of at the tail end of the evaluation process. We have admitted a class for the next year, and we're just in the process of finalizing what that class looks like. The candidates we've admitted have until next week, April 15th, to accept the offer. So we're just about to kind of relaunch and kind of kickstart the recruiting cycle for the next year. So today's info session is really designed to help you learn a little bit more about what the business analytics program is all about here at the MIT Sloan School. I'll go over what the curriculum looks like, what typical students, the profile of students look like, where students are working after graduating, and then also we have a unique component of a capstone project, which I'll get into, which gives students work experience as a part of the program. So, I always like to start by explaining a little bit more about what the background is for creating this program. So this is a young program at MIT. It's only been around for 3 years. We have just now admitted the 4th class, but the school determined that this was a market need. We did a lot of research, and as you can see here on the slide, the job growth for data scientists, for analytics, for machine learning skills is gigantic. And really essentially anyone graduating from MIT from any degree program is expected to be familiar with big data and how to use that data to help inform decisions that are being made, where this program is the nice combination of taking those sort of data science type of roles, and then also supplementing that with the business thinking and the decision making needed in order to create strategy and change within an organization based on what the data science models are giving you. So thus we have advanced analytics at MIT, and the way we think about the business analytics program is a combination of operations research, which helps you to build the skills to create and build models. But what models, you're collecting data and you're building models, and those models are helping you to make predictions. But predictions alone are not enough. You also have to gain influencing skills in the bigger picture context in order to create, decisions that can come from those predictions. So that's where we see the kind of combination of operations research, machine learning, and business analytics coming together. This program is designed to give you both the hard skills of data science, but also the influencing skills and the ability to, use those predictions to help influence business decisions and business strategy. So, just some context, the business analytics program, is quickly becoming the most competitive master's program to get into at MIT, not to scare you away, but we do have an incredibly strong applicant pool. And the stats here, we haven't yet released information from this year's current admission cycle, but for the 2018 cycle, we had close to 900 applications for 44 seats. This year, we are growing the program to 60 seats, but we did see an increase in applications as well. So it is very close to 20 applications per seat still. So here you'll see The business analytics program, as I mentioned, we're very early on. It's only in its third year. This new class for the 2020 class, we're looking to grow the class to 60 students. But once we get to 60, we're planning to keep it kind of a steady size for a couple of years, and then potentially double that in 5 years. So I think that 60 is a good size for our cohort. It's still one class. There's a lot of core components that we can manage with a 60 student class size. And as I get into the curriculum, you'll see a little bit more about how this size will really be beneficial for everybody. So the curriculum for the business analytics program, this is a 1-year program, 12 months. It begins in September and then it ends the following August. So it's a little bit unique in terms of its calendar, but the fall term or the fall semester is all of your required core classes. This is a long list. You will be taking all of these classes in the core semester. So regardless of your skills coming in, everybody will still gain kind of software and coding skills. There's a communication seminar, and then in addition to that, there's also analytics lab, as well as machine learning optimization. So a bunch of different core classes. Some of these classes you will be taking just with other business analytics students, and some of these classes you'll be taking with PhD students in the Operations Research Center. Beyond the fall semester, you gain a lot more flexibility. So then you're able to pick and choose the electives that meet your specific career objectives. So people coming into this program are looking to do different types of things on the back end, thus they have access to a lot of different elective choices. So this is sort of a focused group of electives, but there are many electives that you can choose from. And another exciting point that isn't really reflected here, MIT has also recently announced the creation of the Schwarzman College for Computing, which is essentially taking the field of computer science out of the engineering school and creating an entire school for computer science. So the Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Lab, or CSAIL, if you've heard of it, is also going to be a part of that. And then the Operations Research Center at MIT will have a very close relationship with the Schwarzman College as well. So what does this mean for business analytics students? It just means that there will be an even longer list of electives for you to get access to. So I'll talk a little bit more specifically about how the winter, the spring, and the summer kind of break down as we get a little bit later into the presentation. But of course, this program comes with world-class faculty. Dimitris Bertsimas, who's in the middle here, he is the faculty chair of the program. He's also a co-director of the Operations Research Center at MIT, and he is truly dedicated to student success in this program. And then many of the other faculty members here, as well as other faculty members teaching both at Sloan and in computer science, are very invested in working with students. One of the unique aspects of this program is the ability to do a capstone project. So this would be a 9-month engagement with a partner company. And this company is identified, or these company projects are identified by the program based on feedback from a number of different stakeholders, including the current students. But essentially, you are assigned to a team of 2, and you would work on this project beginning in late January through the end of August, where you work with them remotely during the spring semester with the guidance of either a faculty member or a PhD student. And then in addition to that, you have a 10-week internship with them at the end of the program, where you are paid $20,000 for that internship. So that $20,000 is essentially a tuition offset. And then in addition to that, they would pay relocation expenses or other incidental expenses, because many of these projects are not in the Boston area. And then the kind of wrap up of that is at the end of the summer, you write a paper, and then you present your findings to whatever the project was that you're working on during the last week of August, and then you graduate right after that. So it's a really unique opportunity for you to work with some top companies on current analytics issues that they have. And Many of these companies are hoping to use this type of project work as a feeder to their full-time hires, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But here are some examples of projects that are happening as we speak right now. So there's a variety of industries represented here. The majority of the projects are in the United States, although there are a handful in Europe. But most students are looking to gain sort of experience working in the United States. So although we have a number of other projects, not all of the international projects were selected this year. So, we're trying to give students what they're interested in, and this year they were, really passionate about working on projects in the U.S. So you can see here there's a lot of different examples working from nonprofits like the Gates Foundation to working with the MBTA. We were talking earlier about the T or the public transit here in the Massachusetts area. There's healthcare, there's retail, and there's also automotive. So there's a lot of different projects. The way projects are assigned to students is using a bunch of different data points. So students initially are asked to fill out a number of questions about the projects they would be interested in, and then based on that, we have an algorithm we run to match you with a peer in your class to create a two-person team. And then once you're matched to a team, as a team, you are in presentations with kind of a pitch type of format. The companies all come and pitch you on what all the projects are, and then you create essentially an application for 5 different projects. And then those projects, also we're using a little bit of back-end analytics to help identify and rank order your choices, and then you'll, as a team, interview with 3 companies, and then the company selects you. So it's a little bit of us influencing the process, and then the company also gets to make the final decision about who works with them. And then in addition to that, there is also a unique opportunity specifically within this Sloan network of programs. The Business Analytics program is the only specialized master's program that essentially guarantees a research assistantship if you're interested in one. So this would give you a unique opportunity to work with a faculty member during the course of the fall and or spring semester on research that they're doing. Essentially, an RA position would be about 10 hours a week, although that ebbs and flows a bit. Sometimes it's 20 hours a week and sometimes it's nothing. So, but on average, 10 hours a week, and the compensation for that is $10,000 per semester. So it's another great way to help kind of offset some of the cost of tuition, as well as working with, some of the thought leaders in computer science, analytics, and operations research here at MIT. Here is just a sampling of some of the research assistant topics that we've had with students working on this current year. So Arnie Barnett, Dimitri Spartsimas, Johan Johansson, and Karen Zhang are all faculty members who are intimately involved with the business analytics program, and they're excited to partner with our students for research assistant positions. So then to talk a little bit about the class profile. So the current class has 44 students. They're certainly academically strong. You can see here the test scores or the average. Actually, we have the median, which would be the middle of the range, but then averages are very closely aligned to that. You'll notice that the average age and average work experience does skew a little bit younger. And so we've seen that this is really, typically an early career master's program where people are coming, about 21 months of work experience actually includes internships. So, over 80% of the students coming to this program are coming directly from undergrad, and then the remaining 20% have probably between 0 and 5 years of experience. There may be 1 or 2 outliers that skew that a little bit, but essentially it's a program designed for people earlier in their career to give you sort of the launching pad to jump into data science, analytics, consulting type of roles. You'll see here the sampling of undergraduate universities and undergraduate degrees. We are looking for demonstrated aptitude in quantitative methods. So it is going to skew towards STEM undergraduate degrees. We're looking for students who are coming from math backgrounds, any type of engineering. There's a handful of business students, students who study business, but very much more kind of the math and sciences. And then all of the top universities are represented in the class. And then the class is very diverse. There's about 50% US students and about 50% non-US. And then here we have about, it's not represented here, but I think that there's around 18 nationalities represented in the current class. I know that that is actually a little higher. I think it's closer to 25 that we'll have represented in the new incoming class. But again, the numbers grew. We went from 44 to 60. And so then obviously a very critical part of this program is offering you career coaching. You're coming to school here to help get a job in the field of data science and analytics, and how do we help you to do that? So we have dedicated career advisors who will work with you. We do have a unique recruiting model where the fall semester we try to have you focus on academics. And then we sort of try to keep recruiters at bay a little bit and give you some time to get acclimated to MIT, give you some time to learn from us, and then it's sort of the full-on recruiting process begins in January. And so in January, you'll start, in January you'll work through something called Career Core. So our career advisors will work with you for a full week of programming in the month of January when classes are still on break. And you'll come back, I think it's typically the middle of January, you will work with them through, learning about what do these roles mean? How will I better sort of position myself to interview with Google or BlackRock or Wayfair? And then a lot of coaching around case-based interviews, a lot of coaching around resume prep, mock interviews. We have a number of our alums from this program come back to campus during this time to work with you and to help support you through the process. And then we have sort of official recruiting that launches. Just to go back to this, students are very successful in terms of their career search for this program. Everybody who's graduated from the program has had jobs, multiple offers. I think for us, we're trying to protect you a little bit. We're in a unique situation. You will have job offers, but we're trying to protect you from being forced to decide on a job before you are ready. So companies will make you offers in the fall, but we want you to have the full breadth of options. And so we're trying to protect you in terms of, what companies are offering. We want to give you as much time as possible to make a decision for the right job for you. Most students will have accepted job offers for full-time employment before they go to their capstone projects in the summer. Some of those students will have accepted with their capstone companies and some won't, and either way, that's completely fine with us. But you see here there's a great representation of different types of companies represented as well as job titles. And then another aspect of the career sort of support that we offer is a business analytics speaker series. So we have speakers that come for lunch info sessions or evening sessions several times a month. I think that we have a slide here. Oh, I don't, sorry. But there are people coming from all of those companies that we mentioned as well as many others. There are people coming from government institutions, the NSA, the FBI. We've also had people coming from the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Army. So there's lots of different, obviously analytics and data science applies to all different fields and all different industries. And so we are fortunate to be in a position where many high-profile people are interested in coming to talk to business analytics students, and it gives you sort of unique access to ask questions about what their path was, what are their needs today, how can you better prepare yourself, and then also to get sort of one-on-one interaction with them, either before or after, and sort of seminar or chat series events that we offer sort of before and after that as well. Another great component of the career support is we have an analytics career night. So this sort of kicks off recruiting for business analytics. It's typically held the first week of February, and it sells out immediately. We have about 60 companies that come to represent. We invite students from all over the institute to attend. You'll see here it's just really like a cocktail type of reception with lots of different companies from all over the world that fly in to meet with you. And then here is a list of the kind of the companies or the sponsors that came this past February. So a lot of different companies, a lot of different industries represented, and by no means is this the only set of companies that are recruiting out of this program, but these are people who are really interested in coming here to meet with you. Oh, here's the the sample guest speakers. I knew I had a slide. So here's a sampling, as I mentioned before, some of the speakers that have come to campus this year to chat with our students. So you can see, obviously sports analytics and the sports analytic conference at MIT has been kind of world renowned. So there's a lot of interest in sports and, all different aspects of even media and entertainment for that matter. And then consulting, and then some of the more, robust analytics companies like BCG Gamma and IBM Watson. And then another great aspect of this program is what we call data track. So it happens the week prior to spring break in March, and we bring all of our students out to the West Coast to visit with many different companies in Seattle and in the greater Bay Area. So here's a sampling of some of the companies that students went to visit. It's a very intense week. The list of companies is actually bigger than this, but it's 6 days. You start on a Sunday of several different company visits every day. And during that week, there are also interviews happening. There's also, lots of different opportunities for you to engage with sort of not only our alums who are working within those companies, with decision makers who are within those companies, but also, they're trying to, good morning, have a seat. They're also trying to convince you to apply to work there. So it's a really unique opportunity to visit a lot of these companies, like Tesla, for instance. They bring you in the manufacturing line. They give you kind of unprecedented access to things, trying to woo you through that recruiting process, which is also, this happens in March. We're trying, again, to protect you from accepting those, what seem like really exciting job offers in November. We're trying to help you to hold out. Trust the process. You will be successful. We have sort of a process in place to help you make the most informed decision possible. Here's a little bit more in terms of stats. So this is from the graduating class of 2018. I know this is a little bit different already for this year in terms of it skewing a little higher, but upon graduation, you can see sort of average base salaries. It doesn't always include signing bonuses or other compensation. And then just to highlight that the business analytics program is a part of the greater ecosystem of MIT Sloan. There are 5 full-time master's programs here within the Sloan community, and many of the elective courses that you will be taking will have students from some of these other degree programs within them, primarily the MBA program or the Master of Finance program. So we have a couple of executive level programs, the Executive MBA and the Sloan Fellows program. Those are programs for executives, so people who are coming here to study with 10, 15 or more years of experience. They're in sort of executive level roles here, looking to make the switch to sort of the C-suite. So they're probably less likely to be in some of the classes that you'd be taking, but they're a great resource for you here, and there are many different events that take place to bring students together from all different backgrounds, and they can really serve as great mentors to students in this program. And then we have the MBA/LGO program. So that has about 400 students in it each year. MBA is 2 years full-time, exactly what it sounds like. The LGO is a joint degree we have in engineering, where you get an MBA and a master's in engineering, and that's also 2 years. And then we also offer a Master of Finance program. It's targeted towards a similar population in terms of age and stage of experience as the business analytics. It's also an early career program that has about 120 students in it, and that's also 1 year. And then we have the business analytics program. And then there's also, our undergraduate students here at MIT who are amazing, and you will see some undergraduate students in some of the courses that are offered as well. So this just highlights the MIT community. There's so many things to take advantage of, not just within the Sloan School, but also the greater university, that many students are interested in working in different centers across campus, like the Media Lab or CSAIL, I mentioned it before, Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Lab. The new Schwartzman College for Computing is going to be a great resource. It opens in September, so it'll be a great opportunity for us to partner even more with different programs, faculty members, and departments across campus. There are many elective courses that are co-sponsored by different departments. So, by just taking a class, you will have students in your class and on your teams from other degree programs, but it's really a great opportunity to take advantage of the larger MIT community. And then also with that, we'll get to it in a second, there's the Operations Research Center, but there's also many different student activities, conferences, clubs, hackathons. You are a student of MIT, so you have access to everything, and you'll see a lot of cross-pollination with students from across the university working with you. Just to highlight, the Business Analytics program is very much ingrained in the Operations Research Center. The Operations Research Center, we call it the ORC, is just across the street from us. This is a picture of it inside. It was recently renovated. It's very sort of startup-esque. All the walls are whiteboards, and it's a great place for students to sort of work together and have sort of a hangout space as well. So the Operations Research Center only has about 10 master's students, but it also has, give or take each year, about 15 to 20 PhD students that we bring in. So there's a great cohort. This is essentially, a doctorate level master's program, and you will work very closely with the ORC for definitely through the core classes, and then potentially through the capstone and some of the other elective courses you may choose to take. And then there's lots of fun as well. So an example is the fall retreat. Students go hiking, and they go up to New Hampshire for one of the long weekends in October. There's, anytime there's a minute of free time in the schedule, there's lots of different activities for students to take advantage of. Come on in. So, it's really a fun experience as well. And I think, because it's sort of a smaller program here, it's very tight-knit, and students can get to know each other quite well. This just highlights we have lots of different social media you can follow us on. This is some pictures from the Analytics night, which was our career recruiting event. But if you follow us on Instagram or Facebook or whatever you're most comfortable with, you'll get constant updates on what's happening. Here's a little bit more. So this is here is some more information about the Sports Analytics Conference. So for those of you who might not be familiar, MIT over the past 10 years or so has become sort of the world-renowned experts in sports analytics. So every year we have a conference at the Convention Center in South Boston. It sells out in 15 minutes, and it brings 5,000 plus people from the world of sports and media together, from press, from teams, leadership, leagues. And it's a great opportunity really for business analytics students to have a very intimate role with working with these stakeholders within the field of sports analytics, but also in the planning aspects of things. It gives you sort of unique access to some of these companies. So we have a number of students here who are interested in sports, and it's sort of a new sort of territory in sports analytics. Some teams are more savvy than others, but there are many opportunities if that's something you might be interested in. And also not just within the United States. There are leagues from all over the world that are a part of this as well. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about the admissions process, and then we can take as many questions from our online friends as well as anyone who's here. So we're just at the tail end of our admissions process for this year. The students we've admitted so far have until Monday or April 15th to accept our offer. Next year, I don't have a date yet for the application deadline. Typically it's early January. This year it was January 4th. I don't see it changing very much. So typically the application deadline is in early January, and then you get your response from us by early May. I'll give you kind of big picture how the process works, and then we can talk tactically about what's involved in the application. So once you submit an application, it's reviewed by the admissions committee. So I manage that admissions committee. It is a combination of admissions staff, program advisors, business analytics program advisors, and faculty. Every application that's received is reviewed by the committee, and then based on those initial reviews, we determine who we would invite for an interview. So an in-person interview is required for admission. This past year, we interviewed just less than 20% of the people who applied. So if you are located in the United States, you will be asked to come to Cambridge to meet with us. If you're outside of the United States, we will go to hub cities to meet you. So in the application, you're asked to rank order the places you'd like to meet with us, and then interviews, and we try to give you your top choice, and then interviews are conducted by just 6 of us. So myself, the program director, our dean of admissions, and then a couple other people on the admissions staff. So we have a very tightly calibrated process. The interview is a combination of different types of questions. So it is a little bit behavioral. So we're looking to ask you some questions about how you interact with other people, how you influence decisions, you know, how you work with people who are different from yourself. So much of this program is a team component, especially with the Capstone Project. So we want to make sure that you're comfortable and you know, can work well in a team. But then there are also technical questions in the interview. And the technical questions are not designed to scare you. It's really designed to help me or us to better understand how you put together the steps to solve a problem. So it may be a simple probability question we ask, and you don't have to give me the exact calculation. It's more about how you would put the steps together. There are other technical questions as well. They're not scary questions. It's really just for us to better understand sort of on the spot how you think about solving a problem. And then after the interview, the admissions committee comes together, and we have, you know, essentially a number of things that we're scoring during the reading and the interviewing, and then we have an equation or a model we've built to determine what we think the decision should be. But then we all have to vote and agree to that. So it's very much a data-driven process, and that data really begins with the written application, which is outlined here. So the application this past year, I'm not sure it will change too much, but the written application last year consisted of a resume, 1 essay. There is a video. We'll skip that for a minute and we'll talk about that last. We ask for you to submit all of your academic transcripts, and then within that we ask you to highlight specific types of courses that you've taken for us. For instance, any math classes, any computer science classes, and the list is a little bit more robust than that, but basically we ask you to pull those up for us, and we actually find that some students take them after they graduate, so it's important for us to know if you've done any of that since graduating. And then we ask for 3 letters of recommendation. The letters, 1 should come from an academic source, meaning a professor you've had in the past, ideally a professor in a quantitative area. The second letter should come from someone you've had an internship or work experience with. So we want to see, you know, both sides, evidence of your academic success and then also evidence of your professional success. And then third letter is up to you. So some students who are still in school, or some applicants who are still in school, choose to have a second faculty, or some students or applicants who are working choose to have a second professional source. Either one is fine with us. And then we actually take GRE or GMAT score. Either one is fine. And then if you graduated from an undergraduate institution that was not English speaking, you need to submit either a TOEFL or an IELTS score. And then yeah.
Oh, I don't know if it's appropriate to ask,
sure.
But I figure since you're on the GMAT versus GRE, say you're coming from less of a quantitative background,
yeah.
Do you recommend possibly taking one versus the other? For example, since the GMAT is much more quant-based, to say, or is it pretty much just a toss-up rather? Because I know.
So if you're coming from less of a quantitative background, I would actually recommend you take the GRE, because the faculty who are involved in the evaluation process also evaluate PhD applicants, and that they're more intimately familiar with the GRE than they are the GMAT. But that being said, either one is fine. One more person. Either one is fine, and there is no preference. It's just the GMAT, we can talk offline after, but the GMAT isn't as granular as the GRE when you look at the quant scoring. So it's, but either works. And then just to talk about the video, so we do have a video component to the application. It's an automated process, and it's really determined to think or to analyze your sort of verbal reasoning as well as your communication ability. So it's a little bit scary, but we front load about 350 or 500 questions into the system. You hit go. There's a question that pops up on the screen. You have 30 seconds to read it, and then the camera goes on and you have 1 minute to respond. one take only. So they're not the kind of questions you need any kind of advanced preparation for. It's really more about us and our ability to analyze your communication skills. So they're questions like, who would you like to have dinner with and why? Or, what was the latest book that you read and how would you review it? Like, it's not things that you need to have a lot of advanced preparation for, but it's important for you to know that exists, and that, when you have the video component, make sure you're not in your PJs and sort of make yourself look a little bit more, fresh. I know that people submit their applications at the last minute, and sometimes the video is the very last thing that they do, and, those videos can be shared with the admissions committee, and so you just want to kind of be at your best when you do that part of it. Okay, so and there's lots of ways for you to continue to connect with us. As I mentioned, this is the very beginning of the next admissions recruiting cycle, so there will be many more opportunities to engage with us in person, online, and also on campus. But what kind of questions do everybody have for me? Not only for those in the room, but also those who are online. Yeah.
Besides like the research opportunities to help pay for other scholarships that are given, or would that be an external thing?
Yeah, so we do have a fellowship budget. So for us, fellowships are awarded based on merit. So the strongest people who apply are given awards. I will say that the fellowship budget is not as large as you might expect. So, on average, the fellowships that we give are around $20,000. So there's no such thing as a full tuition award or anything like that. I know there are some peer programs out there that do that, but we're not in that position yet. But I think because of the capstone and because of the other opportunities you have to kind of offset some of the cost of tuition, this program can be very manageable. Yep.
I guess the graduates from the program do turn to move on to the industry and start a career, but would there be any graduates that just go into a PhD program?
Yes, absolutely. So we have had, we've only had 3 graduating classes so far. We're about to have our 3rd graduating class. The first class had 1 that went on to a PhD, but it was only 15 students. The second class had 2 out of 30 or 32. And then I don't know yet the results for this year, but I know a couple students this year have applied. So certainly, it could be a launching pad or the first step towards a PhD.
It's similar to our question. How do you see the transition for the MBA as well? Do you normally see, I know you're just about to finish only the 3rd class, so there's not a lot of data.
Yep.
But how do you see, is there a smooth transition to say go from, the traditional MBA to the Master of Business Analytics, or is it kind of like the swap as far as the process?
So we have now we have our first, one of the graduates from the first Business Analytics class has just been admitted to the MBA program, but he went and worked for 2 years. So I would see the only path that would make sense would be to do Business Analytics first and then work, and then come back potentially for the MBA. So the MBA is quite different. There is sort of a track or kind of a minor, if you will, within the MBA that focuses on analytics and business analytics, but it does not go as deep or as quantitative as the business analytics program.
Thank you.
Yeah. Another question, yeah?
I also checked the curriculum and I see the classes are really advanced, so I'm guessing some of the classes, like foundation classes, are assumed when we're applying.
So there's not too much that's assumed when you're applying. I'll go back to the classes. Oh, here we go. I know you came in a couple minutes behind. No, don't apologize. There's not too much that's assumed. We assume that we are going to teach you how to work through these classes. We are looking for you to have some math exposure, obviously calculus, optimization, statistics, but you can gain that in a lot of different ways. We are also looking for you to have some computer programming experience. So it is not currently a requirement in the application process, but we may revisit that for next year, where we would be looking for you to be pretty familiar with Python and SQL. There's also a programming language R, which is more statistically based. It would be good to be a little familiar with R, and then when you get here, we'll also teach you a newer language. It's called Julia. It's been developed here at MIT. But if you happen to be familiar with the Analytics Edge, it's a popular online edX class that you can take. That's another way to sort of, it's free. You can sign up to take it online. It's a good way for you to sort of get a sense of what the curriculum might be like. Yeah.
So what is the acceptance rate from non-STEM background? Like I come from a non-STEM background.
What's your non-STEM background?
Architecture.
So if you're on the edge there, depending on your math experience.
So I've taken electives and I've done my journal and internships in this background, but I'm not sure academically will you be qualifying as well.
So I don't know the exact answer to that question. Many students are coming from, from a quantitative background. We have admitted people with an economics background. We have admitted people from a business background. So those are not STEM backgrounds. I mean, architecture is still, you still need to take a lot of math classes in order to, graduate with an architectural degree. So it's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. I think if you were like a literature major, it might be a little bit more complicated. You can look at, there's lots of data on our website about the backgrounds of people and the courses. In the application itself, we have a set of questions where we ask you to pull out all of the classes that you've taken. You don't have to have taken those classes, but if you look at that list of classes and you haven't taken any, that could be, a red flag. You might want to wait before applying and take some of those classes. Yeah.
Just comparing to the other 4 programs, what kind of unique characteristics do you see from the admitted class?
Yeah, so it's a little bit hard to do that because, there are people coming from a lot of different ages and stages. And I think that for this program, we're really interested in people who are, quantitatively strong, yet also, looking to be involved in, all different types of problem solving and sort of community aspects of things here. So there's not, we actually have a baseline set of competencies we're evaluating for all programs here, and we're looking to bring people here with very similar skills and maybe within different ranges of those skills for the different programs. But we're building a community here of people who are incredibly smart, very nice, interested in challenging the status quo, and then love and embrace the opportunity to work in a collaborative environment. So, those foundational skills are represented in all of the different programs here. In terms of the sort of characteristics of the business analytics program, I mean, I see younger audience. People in this program have less sort of professional exposure. So, it tends to be some students who are more academically focused, and then, along with that, experiencing some of these professional opportunities for the first time. There are certainly people we admit to this program who have never had a professional internship. They've only done research, and that's okay. But, we're looking for at least those people to be, interested in going outside of their comfort zone and trying different things.
I might have missed it before, but I was wondering, what is the typical career path after people have graduated from this program?
Yeah, so there's lots of different things people are doing. They're going into data science roles, they're going into finance roles, they're going into consulting. A lot of them are going into tech. So it depends. The beauty of analytics is it applies to every single industry. There are many kind of top companies who are looking to recruit out of this program, and depending on sort of your combination of skills and where you want to be in the next couple of years, really anything is possible. Did you have a specific role that you had in mind, or?
I was thinking like consulting, and I was like wondering how it would apply to consulting, because I know the trend in the industry right now is like big data.
Yeah, so consulting, I'd say it's not going to put you, I'll preface this by saying, if you're coming directly from undergrad, this program will not put you at an associate level hire for consulting. It is not replacing an MBA. If you have work experience and you come to this program, that could be a possibility, but without work experience, you're not going to get hired as an associate. You could be hired as like a senior business analyst at McKinsey. You could be hired into their analytics practice. You could be hired into a BCG Gamma analytics practice or IBM Watson. Many of the top companies are building out analytics practices, but that would not necessarily be a business analyst role. So there's some nuances to consulting. Consulting, what McKinsey, for instance, is interested in all of our students, but I think that there are a lot of other interesting opportunities out there as well. So again, I mentioned it earlier, we're trying to give you sort of the full sort of menu of options before you would commit to one position. So there is an employment report that's on our website that gives you the full breakdown of all 44 students last year, where they went to work, what their salaries were, all different types of information. So we would encourage you to read through that.
So go back to the courses, you mentioned that we might be required to be familiar with the program courses like Python. But right now, I'm from a business background, I don't have basic knowledge about the programming courses. So do you recommend, would you suggest me just take other similar courses, or would it fine for me to only have a basic knowledge about?
You need more than basic knowledge. So I would recommend that you take some kind of online, some type of a training course that you can give me in the application to show me that you've completed something. So it doesn't have to be graded, but it can be like you earn a certificate or you finish an online training. There's lots of Coursera things or free, edX type of things that you can take online, but something that is tangible that you can include in the application to say that you're beyond sort of watching YouTube and learning Python.
Okay.
What do you think about the MicroMasters that MIT offers in the data science thing? Would that be in?
Yeah, that's excellent.
Okay.
Yes, but it takes some time.
I
So,
realized, yeah.
so I think many students applying have taken one or two of those courses, and that's great. But right now, the MicroMasters takes 18 months, I think, to complete, or even more possibly. So, people, that's great. But if you don't have that much time, you don't need to complete that whole thing. There any questions online?
You touched on.
Okay, so anyone online, feel free to type in any more questions you have. What else? Yeah.
I might have also missed this part, but what is the acceptance rate looking like?
Yeah, so it is a competitive program. Let's see, do I have it here? This was the stats from last year. So that's the graduating class of 2019 who's about to graduate. This year, we're increasing the class size to 60. We did see an increase in applications though. So I don't know if it'll be 20 applications per seat, it might be 19, but it's still pretty competitive. Of the applicant pool, I mentioned this earlier, I think, we interviewed just less than 20% of the people who applied. So getting to that interview is really the critical piece, and then the interview is important, but we're probably admitting about half the people we interview, so. What else? Yeah.
For the computer science background you mentioned before, you said that there's Python and R and Julia. I was wondering, because I'm currently taking Java classes, and I don't know if I have time to take Python classes in the future. Would that be okay to apply to that background?
Java is good, but Python is better. That's my honest answer.
Okay.
From sitting in the room, reading through applications, and questions that we ask. Python is what is the tool you will primarily use here. What else? All right. Well, there's no other questions. I'm happy to stick around and answer any questions you might have one-on-one. Otherwise, continue to stay in touch with us. Let's see, do this. As I mentioned, we're at the very beginning of the recruiting cycle for this year. Keep checking our website. How many people are here from the Boston area? Most of you. Okay. If you're not from the Boston area, we'll be hosting events all over the world this summer and into the fall. And then there's lots of opportunities to sit in on classes and connect with us throughout the summer, meet with alums and everything. So we want you to be well informed when you submit your application. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Thanks for coming out this morning. And then if you didn't check in, just, I know a few people arrived late, just check in with Rich here so we can make sure that we send you a thank you and keep telling you about all the new events happening. So All right, thanks guys.